I don't really think the Big 12 title race has changed very much. But what happened with Arizona State and K-State, frankly, may have wrecked the multi-bid chances of this league, even though they shouldn't have. I'm going to outline why it really is silly if that has happened. But you guys know how the rest of the college football world tends to view the Big 12. It may well have happened. Now, the one exception to the rule that I just laid out about the conference title race, what I'm basically telling you is don't write off Baylor, even though they missed a huge opportunity for the league. Don't write off Arizona State, even though they lost the game that I had been fearing since the offseason that they would, that I thought could be most damaging to the league's perception. Do not dare count them out of the league title race. I think that would be very, very foolish right now. The one exception, though, is K-State. You can count them out, my friends. I mean, K-State's about to go play Arizona on Friday. It's not even a conference game. They still have one more game to play before they even play conference game number 2. But you can count them out, man. You can count them out. Unless K-State comes screaming back into the picture, they've got bigger problems, bigger fish to fry. And I'll talk more about that later on in the show. But I think you do need to be careful, okay? You need to be careful about what you do to teams like Arizona State and Baylor, because I'm hearing a lot of the chatter, and I will get into my Big 12 contender tiers in just a moment, but I'm hearing a lot of the chatter here, and it's like, okay, well, it's Utah and Iowa State and Texas Tech. I guess they're just going to have to do this whole thing for everybody. Yes, I know, TCU fans, you're not getting enough love and respect right now. Probably hurts that you were on a bye this past week. But I think that's a little foolish. I think that's very foolish. I mean, let's talk Arizona State, right? Okay, so they lose in a very dumb way at Mississippi State, a game that should have been about an incredible comeback, medal, resolve, a quarterback in Sam Leavitt who, like, when I see him just going Superman flying out there, I love the guy. I admire the guy. To come all the way back from 17 down and get to the one freaking yard line from punching in a touchdown with like 2 minutes left, to go from that to having to kick a field goal to an inexplicable coverage bust to lose that game to a Mississippi State program that finished last in the SEC last year. It's a very stupid loss, okay? It's a very stupid loss. You'd like to think that Arizona State, being the program that they are coming off of last season, would be in position to not fall behind by 17 in Starkville. But I tried to tell you guys going in, look, Big 12 teams could have a hard time playing in Starkville at night. Mississippi State is likely a little bit better than they were last year. For one, that is a difficult environment to play in. Think about going a number of places in the Big 12 at night. West Virginia, Texas Tech, Iowa State, K-State, Kansas at their new stadium, right? Like that's going to be a tough environment to play in if that place is jacked up, and Mississippi State was jacked up. That was, seeing people talk about that being the most significant win for Mississippi State in like a decade. Like they wanted that badly. You were walking into a hornet's nest and you endured the hornet's nest. Or it wouldn't have earned you a ton of street cred just winning that game on the outside to most, but it would have to me. And so the fact that Arizona State basically did it, I mean, they were right there pulling the comeback off, right on the precipice of it. That did show me an actual lot. And I guess you can see where I'm going with this. Like, if you sent Utah to Starkville, would Utah have just pummeled Mississippi State? I don't, maybe, but I don't know about that. I don't know for sure about that. If you sent Texas Tech there, I really have no idea. Texas Tech's a tough one to figure out. They're clearly not a bad team because they can just kill people that are undermanned. All right, Texas Tech is not a bad team. We know that. But could they have gone and done that? Do they have the mettle to do that and withstand that? I don't know. So I would not write off Arizona State at all. The book on Arizona State coming into this year, by the way, I think this is easy for people to forget because you think of last year's team and you think, well, Arizona State had a great rushing attack, obviously, with Cam Scatterbu, and that offense was pretty lethal with Scatterbu and Jordan Tyson by the end of the year. Yeah, but the word from Tempe was that the defense was ahead of the offense this year. And it may take the offense a little bit to get going, recoup after the loss of Cam Scatterbu, but the defense would carry the day. So being more of a defensive battle in this game in Starkville makes a lot of sense. So I don't know that it's really disrupted a lot of what I would have thought about Arizona State. And by the way, if you're somebody that says, well, John, then the Big 12 is just not very good if that's your title contender. Let me remind you, Arizona State at home beat Mississippi State by 7 last year. Okay? Had to hang on. It was kind of the inverse of this game where they got up big in the first half and then had to hang on for dear life in the second half against Mississippi State last year. And you know what? By the end of the year, they were still good enough to be one play away from beating Texas. So I think it would be foolish to totally get rid of all your Arizona State stock based on just that result. And, as much as I railed on the Baylor loss to Auburn, how disappointing that was, how big of a missed opportunity it was for the Big 12, don't you dare sell your Baylor stock right now. Have you seen what Sawyer Robertson is doing? Okay. The headline, yes, they beat SMU in double overtime. I think everybody is aware of that by now. But speaking of a team that showed some real championship mettle, that's Baylor. Baylor gets down 38-24. Fourth quarter, it's like all parties and smiles on the SMU sideline. There was literally, I couldn't get it out of my head. The camera shot of the SMU kid that scores a touchdown and then is like celebrating in the end zone with what looked like an SMU staffer or something. They're like an athletic department staffer or something. And it's just like, all right, well, route is on, right? All smiles. We outlasted Baylor. Wrap it up. That's not what happened. Baylor came down, scored, stopped, scored. And then even once you're in overtime, Baylor has all this momentum. Things are looking great. And SMU, the first play that they touch the ball in overtime, it's a bomb for a touchdown. And that was like what Kevin Jennings had been doing all day. Baylor defense still has some problems. Okay, don't get me wrong. They are flawed. But then even beyond that, you come back, you got to play defense again. You get a stop, you force the field goal. Guess what? They shank the field goal. And then there it is. Baylor wins the game. This, by the way, is a program and a team. A lot of these guys were on the team last year that started 2-4. Everybody left them for dead, said their coach was fired. They were mocking him for the victory cigar formation that led to the Hail Mary in Boulder. And what did Baylor do? Well, they won 6 straight and finished 8-4 and were just an eyelash away from the Big 12 championship game. Like, you can't count these guys out just because of the loss to Auburn, and they showed us a lot. Sawyer Robertson has played an SEC defense and a playoff ACC defense from last year at SMU. And he has thrown for 859 yards, 7 touchdowns, and no interceptions through 2 weeks. Insane numbers, okay? Insane numbers from Sawyer Robertson. Yes, their defense is still, I'm going to be kind here and say a work in progress. Dave Aranda's got to do something, man. He is supposed to be the defense guy. I don't know what's going on there. They've got to get it better. But they have an offense that's going to keep them in games. And they're hard to kill because that offense can always come after you the way that it did to SMU. SMU thought they had them stomped out, but they did not. And you know what? I would even say I wouldn't discount Kansas from the Big 12 title race even after the Mizzou loss. I mean, that game, if you didn't watch that game closely, with 7 minutes left, Kansas is up 3, and Mizzou's got 3rd and 17. And then it turned into 4th and 7. And guy makes a great play. Extends the drive. They go down and score. And then Kansas may well have driven right back down and scored again because Jalen Daniels was on fire. But Emmanuel Henderson, transfer receiver, on a big 3rd down, dropped a pass right in his hands. It was a beautiful ball from JD6. Dropped it. And then Lance Leipold with I think, a very bad playing a little scared decision, punting the ball away. When you had given up 600 yards of offense to Missouri, I'm not punting the ball away in that situation. Not great from Lance Leipold, but, man, they were right there at Mizzou, and that's a program that's won 21 games in the SEC the last 2 years. So, again, Kansas is flawed. They were outgained. It was 595, not quite 600 yards. 595 to 226. They need a better ground game. They were outmanned in the trenches, frankly, but they made some plays. Defense scored to help them. Jalen Daniels is playing really, really, really well. If they can get him some help on the ground, and Kansas can be in this thing. So my point here is the national narrative is going to be, hey, this can't possibly be a 2-bid league. Look, it's just the Big 12. It's a bunch of all this, the mid-12 jokes and all that stuff is going to come out. Don't let that have you be dead and burying some of these teams that have lost that are the reason that people will be saying that nationally about this conference. I think this league title race could still be fascinating. And it's very foolish to get too locked in on just a couple of teams and like, oh, those are the only hope and all of that. Okay. And really, if we're really talking about it with like Arizona State, you're just one play. I mean, it's one coverage bust away from people just being like, yeah, that's fine. Nice gritty road win for Arizona State early on this year. Of course, they're still a contender. They won the league last year. And man, I forgot I had this note looking at it. I'm about to transition into the national part of this. I've got a defense of the Big 12 nationally for what's going to be thrown at the league here. But I was reading some quotes after the game because my thought was, I was like, dude, Kenny, my man, how does that happen? How does that coverage bust happen? How do you wind up with a guy running a post one-on-one for 50 plus yards in a one-score game at that moment in time, right? Like how you're up 3, how? And he didn't really, it said Kenny Dillingham didn't really go into specifics after the game, but I was reading quotes from the other side from Mississippi State. This is Blake Shapen, the quarterback at Mississippi State. Quote, there should have been a post safety in the middle of the field, but I guess he played more to the boundary. So whenever Brennan caught it, there was nobody there. Very surprising. I didn't expect that to happen. I should have just read that. Blake Shapen, the quarterback at Mississippi State, said, very surprising. I didn't expect that to happen. It's kind of why I threw it like I did, firmly, because I was expecting a post safety in the middle of the field. Jeff Levy, Mississippi State head coach, said, quote, they were trying to show something, and I think the disguise ended up costing them. I loved the call as soon as I saw the defense. Oh, it's got to be maddening. It's got to be maddening. If you're thinking about the Big 12 big picture here, right, and you're going to say, well, Arizona State, you're arguably your league favorite or your defending champion, the team that was ranked at or near the top 10, depending on which poll you were looking at, cannot be the team to go lose to a squad that finished last in the SEC last year. Well, I would turn around and say, okay, I mean, how would you handle this if it were an SEC team? And say, well, this can't be a two-bid league. Arizona State can't be a team that's considered for an at-large playoff spot based on that happening. Alabama last year lost to Vandy and lost to Oklahoma. And not only did they lose to Oklahoma, they lost by 21. They lost by 3 touchdowns, okay? So, yeah, Oklahoma wasn't the worst team in the SEC last year, but they were a bad team in the SEC last year, and Alabama lost by 3 touchdowns. They also lost to Vanderbilt. They had 2 bad losses like that. And they were still heavily considered for an at-large spot in the college football playoff, okay? So I think it's very silly if that is being used on any basis to just eliminate this league right now from having any shot at doing that. I would also just say, look at a conference like the ACC, which I think is going to get a lot more respect. And I understand wins over Alabama and Notre Dame will do that. But I did just say Alabama didn't make the playoff last year, right? Well, SMU did, and the Big 12 beat SMU. The Big 12's got 1 win over SMU already. May get another one. We'll see what happens with TCU. The Big 12 beat an actual playoff team in SMU. Alabama is not, but Florida State is getting a ton of credit for that. Now, I think we all understand why. The name value that backs Alabama is certainly a lot different, the brand value, than what SMU has. But if we're going to really parse this out, SMU accomplished more last year as a team. The ACC as a conference has been up and down, and it will get far more credit. Like SMU lost. Clemson was down 3 scores to Troy at home on Saturday. Georgia Tech was within an eyelash of losing to a middle-tier Big 12 team in Colorado. I'm telling you, no league is perfect here, and every league has mixed results. We were certainly hoping for the best and hoping for the Big 12 to really come through and take advantage of all the opportunities that they had, but it's an unfair curve that we grade the Big 12 on seemingly with this, just because of where the perception starts on this league. Okay. But at least we can all take solace in, at the end of the day, laughing about the fact that Rhett Lashlee himself, SMU head coach, who said, quote, there's no question that our league has separated itself as one of the top 3 leagues in America. That was Mr. Rhett Lashlee taking a pointed shot at the Big 12 at ACC Media Days, and now for the 2nd straight year, Rhett Lashlee has lost at home to a Big 12 team in the non-conference schedule. So congratulations to Rhett Lashley on that, not doing his part to help out his beloved ACC. With all that rich history that SMU has in the ACC, not doing his part to hold things up there.